Alright, doing Metal Gear Solid Abridged was fun, but it's time to get back to work on One Piece material. I wonder what I should cover now. I haven't touched on Boa Hancock and her culture yet. You know, I bet Usopp would be fun to look at right now. Okay. How about this? If I have to do an admiral, Aokiji? Hello friends and legends, and welcome back to another episode of One Piece Theories. Last episode, I covered Admiral Kizaru's possible weaknesses, stating that in my belief every devil fruit can be countered and in other cases, defeated by another devil fruit in order to maintain a yin-yang balance. The most notable example was an L being ineffective against Luffy since rubber doesn't conduct electricity. Following that though, fellow YouTuber Russell Jones has challenged me to cover and find a weakness for him.
Yes! That's brilliant!
No, not that him, this him! Fleet Admiral Akainu, one of the most despised characters in all of One Piece. He's definitely in my top 5 least likable characters, but he'll never be number 1 due to someone earning himself a permanent position. Break his back again!
Clutch!
Anyway, one of the greatest strengths One Piece has is that it can take about any character and make him or her have an important role in the story. A role that makes them more human and connected to both the One Piece world and to us, the audience. No character is left out, and it takes incredible talent to be able to make this many important characters connect with each other in some way or form. But then you get characters that just aren't human. The characters that are designed to be monsters. The characters made with one trait or motivation, and they use that motivation to do whatever they want with no regret or caution. While everyone has characters they love to hate, there are certainly characters we hate to hate. Akainu is one of those characters, with the motivation to murder everyone that doesn't share his ideology or be on the opposing side. Akainu has done some, and I'm understating here, bad things. He started the massacre of the Oharans and had a personal hand in killing both Whitebeard and Ace. To cover a beast like him and trying to find a weakness is difficult. Haki may be a weakness to devil fruits, but Haki didn't seem like that big of an issue for Magma Man. Even Aokiji, who had a devil fruit that countered the magma fruit perfectly, still lost at the end of his duel against his former comrade. So let's dive deep, but not too deep since I can't afford your life insurance. Let's take a look and see if Akainu does in fact have a weakness. So to start this off, let's gauge how strong Akainu is first. Since he was an admiral, many fans assume that Akainu is just simply admiral level, a power level associated with One Piece characters that ranks them right under the Yonko. But times have changed. Akainu is now a Fleet Admiral, and some fans believe that Fleet Admiral is stronger than Admiral, but still short of the Yonko, using Sengoku as an example. But does that case apply to Akainu? I don't think it does. In fact, I believe that Akainu is at this top tier Yonko level or even beyond. Why would I make that bold of a claim? According to Oda himself during an interview with, and I apologize if I get the name wrong, Yasutaka Nakata in 2012, Akainu is so powerful that if he was a protagonist in One Piece, he would finish the story in a year. Oda said this in response to his belief that protagonists shouldn't be too strong so they in the story can develop more. But holy hell, a year. A year! That means that whatever Luffy dealt with in the past and the Yonko he's fighting now are just obstacles to Akainu, stepping stones to the ultimate prize. The man fought with Aokiji for 10 days straight and still won. In fact, the only one who was able to do any actual damage on Akainu was Whitebeard, a man regarded as Goldie Roger's equal. And Akainu still got up from Whitebeard's most devastating attacks. Ranking Akainu as Admiral or Fleet Admiral level just doesn't apply anymore in my opinion. So Akainu seems far too powerful for everyone. Can there actually be a weakness to him? There might be one, and only someone worthy of this power can defeat Akainu. I'm referring to the Will of D. The Will of D itself is a mystery that has plagued the fans for years. Some individuals have it, and with this Will of D, their power and stamina is above human, their own personal wills may be inherited and inspired from others, and they all smile when they're at death's door. Bearers of the Will of D have also been a target of interest to the government and the #1 enemy of the Celestial Dragons. So what does the Will of D have to do with Akainu? To answer that, I'll give my own interpretation as to what the Will of D is. When trying to understand the Will of D, there are more questions than answers. How did people get this name? If these people have the Will of D and are considered great enemies to the government and the Celestial Dragons, how come some of them aren't more powerful? Why do they all have the tendency to smile when they're about to die, some arguably before their time? The answer I came up with is fate. Or in the Celestial Dragon's opinion, chaos. To better explain this, I'm going to take a quick detour to the Sonic the Hedgehog comic series by Archie. I know, it's crazy that I'm going to this to have an answer to one of the largest mysteries of One Piece, but the villain of the series, Dr. Eggman, has the answer I'm looking for. During the run of this comic series, Eggman has been beaten time and time again by Sonic. While the Doctor has had his number of victories, they're far outnumbered by Sonic's winning streak. And in issue 200, Sonic defeated Eggman once more, but this time Eggman snapped. He couldn't comprehend why a genius like him couldn't stop one mere hedgehog that can go fast. But 10 issues later, Eggman figured it out, literally snapping himself out of insanity. He then says, and I quote, "In every experiment, in every scenario, there is the factor of chance, the unpredictable, the variant or mutation for which you cannot prepare. That hiccup on the quantum level that throws everything off. I'm talking about chaos." What Eggman just described as chaos can also be called fate, and that is the key word to the Will of D, fate. While everyone in the One Piece world can live their lives to their heart's content, their lives will also be affected or influenced by fate, one way or the other. Maybe the disease Roger contracted was due to fate, which ultimately inspired him to set the stage for the Great Pirate Era. Or perhaps Monkey D. Dragon was influenced by fate that led him to Sabo that fateful day. Trying to pinpoint how fate affected the bearers of the Will of D, though, is in the realm of speculation, but we can connect the dots as to how fate is the Will of D. Let's go back to what I said earlier and check off what we know about the Will of D. So first off is the increase in power and stamina. Since fate can be the unpredictable factor in a fight, I'm willing to bet that the two are connected. In fact, Luffy has been the prime example for this ability of the Will of D. Time and time again, we saw Luffy fight against enemies that us fans believed that Luffy couldn't defeat. And yet, time after time again, Luffy pulled through when all the odds were stacked against him. Also, when he was poisoned by Magellan and treated by Ivankov, Luffy made a literal miraculous recovery. It made Ivankov question everything due to how quickly Luffy defeated the poison and survived his treatment. So it might be possible that the Hand of Fate had something to do with Luffy's recovery and his battle, since it wasn't time for Luffy to die. Next up is the inherited will from others. This can also be explained by the work of fate. When Law inherited Corzone's will and dream to be free, it made Law a stronger person and into what he is today. And the man he became helped take down Doflamingo, a celestial dragon that isn't exactly fond of the Will of D and was ready to make hell on Earth. By inheriting the dreams and goals of others, the bearers of the Will of D consistently moved on in life to the next chapter. Such as when Luffy ran the Golden Bell to complete a lifelong dream and friendship, and he was able to do this after defeating Enel, a being who held Skypiea captive. Inheriting dreams and goals allowed these bearers to overcome seemingly impossible odds, just so they could reach the next part of their destined path. But now comes the third and final ability, smiling when a bearer is about to die. I think we can all agree that death isn't something everyone is alright with. It's a scary concept for us humans, and it's natural to be afraid of it. And in the One Piece world, a character dying emotionally destroys everyone else around them. So if someone in One Piece dies, then prepare for a flood of tears from both the reader and everyone else. So how can these people with the Will of D simply smile when the end is near? I think it's because their lives were fulfilled, and as the end approached them, the path fate led them on was complete. For example, Ace lived his entire life questioning if he should be born. But the life he did have proved that his life was worth it. His dream of having a family do anything for him made Ace a complete man. Another example is Jaguar D. Saul, the giant that saved Nico Robin. Saul believed in moral justice, just like Aokiji, but was still restricted by the government's code of absolute justice. But when Saul learned about the Buster Call on Ohara, he went against the Marines and ultimately allowed Nico Robin to have a life. In the end, Saul got to see his moral justice come through, and that act made him a complete man. This also applies to people that survived near-death experiences. When Luffy was about to be executed by Buggy, he smiled. He did that because he finally got to be a pirate and explore what he could. Luffy's goal may have been to be the Pirate King, but he also explained that the title is something that goes with freedom. And up to this point, Luffy experienced that freedom, feeling complete before being saved by Dragon. And when Law was at death's door during his fight with Doflamingo, he smiled too because he was able to hurt Doflamingo where it counts in order to avenge Corazon. Doflamingo's kingdom in operation was shattered and Law felt complete as he fought his hardest. Throughout these characters' lives, it appears that fate had a hand in their development and path. It's the constant that has allowed the One Piece world to have that one chance at freedom against the absolute control the government has been seeking for centuries. Speaking of which, fate also has to do with the Celestial Dragon's hatred to the will of D. The Celestial Dragons aren't the nicest people around. They spend their time enforcing their power over everyone that comes into eye contact. And they've been trying to have complete control of the world for centuries. In ancient times, 20 kingdoms that destroyed an ancient kingdom turned out to be the Celestial Dragons in their attempt to take over the world.
Of course!
They then established a government and marines to enforce their rule, and the rest is history. But it looks like the ancient kingdom is still alive today with the bearers of the Will of D, since both are the only things that the Celestial Dragons consider their greatest enemies. So did the ancient kingdom understand the power of fate and in order to preserve the future, left poneglyphs behind to explain everything? That's certainly a possibility and explains why the Will of D is their greatest enemy. All the Celestials want is control, and yet, there's that one pirate or one revolutionary that always gets in the way of that goal. This war between the Celestials and the Ancient Kingdom never stopped, it only continued. So, how does this all relate back to Akainu? Nothing's changed really. Akainu is still one of, if not the most powerful opponent Luffy will have to face in the future. But maybe the hand of fate will allow Luffy to pull through and defeat Akainu in the end. Luffy has pulled off miraculous wins before and he's bound to do it again. And I get that I basically said that Luffy will win because the plot demands it. But in terms of Luffy fighting Akainu, I believe that the only way Luffy can pull through is if the Will of D is something that will allow him to win. I'm sure there will be another power-up or gear stage that will help out, but Oda did set the gap pretty far between them. There will be more factors in the future, but trying to find out how and who Akainu fights in the future is again in the realm of speculation. But since Akainu, like Doflamingo, is someone that's bound to the code of absolute control or death, it might be time one day for fate to intervene and make sure that his dark reality doesn't come true.